In this video, we're going to be talking about the man who changed his reality with a feeling. We're going to be talking about Neville Goddard. The feeling is the secret. How did he do it? I'm going to be sharing how I use this in my own life to see tremendous change, not only with my romantic relationships, where I went from a continually chasing people, no matter how hard I tried, I continued to feel rejected and abandoned and not good enough, where I was finally able to break out of that pattern and stop seeking external validation, and have found experiences that now reflect my true worth. People who appreciate me on that same level. And with money, I kept finding that no matter how hard I worked, no matter what I did, I never felt stable with money or had a feeling of powerlessness when it came to being able to receive money. Utilizing what I'm going to share with you helped me completely change that dynamic and feel a much greater sense of stability and capability to create financial resources for myself. We're going to be looking through the words that Neville Goddard actually used when he was talking about this so we can get very clear on what actually works. The second part of this video, I'm going to show you why this works. And a lot of times, if you've tried this and it hasn't worked, you've spent a lot of energy already, why maybe that hasn't worked and what you can do about it. And in the third part of this video, I am going to show you exactly how you can start to apply this in practical ways to your own life so that you can start seeing changes, because that's what you deserve. So if you're tired of doing the same thing, wasting a lot of energy, and you want to start feeling empowered in your life, I really encourage you to watch to the end. So let's get started. So let's start with the words of Neville himself. The first quote is, "To seek on the outside for that which you do not feel you are is to seek in vain. For we never find that which we want. We find only that which we are." If we're looking outside of ourselves so that we can feel something that we actually don't feel we are, it's going to be pointless. We're just going to waste a lot of time. It's going to be in vain. We won't find what we want. We'll find who we believe we are. So that's the first really important thing that we're going to talk about a little bit later, that a lot of people waste their time and see no change when they try to implement the law of assumption or the feeling is a secret. They feel, oh, this doesn't even work. This is pointless. But I'm going to show you where the level of change is created and how you can start to implement it. All right, the second quote is, "Whenever you are in a state of mind, I should like to, but I cannot. The harder you try, the less you are able to yield to the wish. You never attract that which you want, but you always attract that which you are conscious of being." So to say that in some regular words, whenever you're thinking, oh, I really want that, but I can't, and you want to believe in it, but you really don't connect with it at the feeling level, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to get there. Because why? Echoing off the first quote, you're not going to attract what you want. You're going to attract who you think you are. And that big key, which we're going to get into in point 3, who you think you are. It's a misunderstanding. And you having access to that which you want is closer than you realize when you learn to let go of who you actually have never been. Okay, so the third quote, so that we can start to tap into the ability to change our reality, our experience in life based on our feeling. And we're going to get into what a feeling is, so hold on. "He knows that consciousness is the one and only reality, that ideas and feelings are facts of consciousness and are as real as objects in space." So to be very, very, very clear, Neville says that if you want to change your circumstances, you change your level of consciousness. And right now, I'm going to put on the screen here a consciousness chart, right? So these levels of default emotions, feelings, perspectives of yourself, that level of consciousness, that level of perception is the lens of what you'll look through out in life, and that is what you'll find. That consciousness is going to feed ideas, which is going to perpetuate feelings, And those are just as real as this crystal right here. They're just as real. We can actually go up and down levels of consciousness. Ideally, we're going to evolve up, where that's our default. Sometimes we have slips, but we can go back up. And when we're evolving in our levels of consciousness, that is what changes our circumstances. So now let me visually break down exactly what Neville was saying when it comes to a feeling is what the secret is, why a feeling is so powerful, and actually the level of feeling Neville was talking about in order to change your life. All right, I'm switching it up today. I actually wrote out the words here rather than drawing my little pictures. Very important to get clear that a feeling is not a flashing feeling. It's not sitting there imagining what you want and then you get up from that and you go through the rest of your day and you feel terrible and you feel powerless and you feel hopeless and you feel unworthy. The feeling Neville is talking about is your default, your consciousness. Now, a lot of that is going to be your subconscious, right? Your subconscious is your body. Your body's going to express your subconscious. So that's where the feeling realm is. That's why it's so important. Because when you're perceiving reality, okay, you're not perceiving it as it is. You're not perceiving and seeing things exactly as they are. You're seeing it through the level of your subconscious beliefs, your level of awareness, your perception of yourself. So if in that there was lack and rejection, that level of consciousness, that default set of how you view yourself, remember that second quote that said, you will never attract what you want, you'll always attract what you're conscious of being. And I think to add on to that, what you're unconscious of being, who you unconsciously think you are. So that is going to fuel your perceptional lens, your perceptional bias. Then those little lenses are going to find in your reality the match. And then you're going to say, look, I knew it. See, I get these. And guess what that does? It makes it feel like these are true. And then it starts the cycle again. Even though love and money and all the other opportunities and abundance are available. So the only way to break out of your pattern right now and to start to have access to the relationships you want, to the money you want, to the ease, to the peace, is if you change what is in your subconscious, what you assume to be true, what you've given permission or consent, both consciously and unconsciously, which we'll talk about in part 3, how you can make it conscious if it's unconscious. We can get a lot of information based on your circumstances and start to get really clear. And when you get to that assumption, that part of your self-concept that is holding you back, that just keeps repeating, after you do that, guess what happens? Then you retrain these lenses. And when you start to feel at the cellular level that you are worthy and deserving, you start to feel it's natural, right? Love, money. Then that's what's going to be the lenses of what you see. So these experiences that you had been attracting, yes, they still exist. You'll still see that lack, but what story do you tell about maybe a situation that hasn't happened? Maybe if somebody isn't interested in you, is that because of who you are? No, you know you're abundant. So what happens then? You start being able to attract and perceive of these other situations. You disengage from these and you step into these. If this video is connecting and you want my help directly in your own life, I'm still offering one-on-one sessions where we sit down over Zoom and I help you break down your pattern so you can step out of it. So far, I've had so many tremendous breakthroughs with so many people across the world. I'd really love to help you as well. If this resonates, there's a link below. Follow that link. It'll tell you more information on exactly how you can have a session one-on-one with me. So click the link below. You're going to fill out a form and I will email you. That is why it is so important. The feeling, your level of consciousness, your perception of yourself, how you view yourself. Most of it, okay, is based on the opinions, expectations, or judgments from when you were a child. Now, this could be all the way back to when you were a baby up until about 8 years old. Now, you can have reiterations or you could have a new traumatic experience, but the primary views of yourself are imprinted there. Now I want to show you part 3 on how you can start to take back your autonomy, break free of those cords that no longer serve you, and step into the feeling realm and creating a life that you really want to live and the one that you know you deserve to have. So this is editing, Abby. I realized that I didn't set part 3 up. Part 1, I talked about what Neville Goddard did. He used his level of consciousness. Now, part 2, I showed you why the feeling is so powerful, why your fundamental dominant feeling and belief system is what will create and recreate your circumstances. Now, in order to change your circumstances and to tap into a new feeling, you'll have to break out of the old one. This is where I got stuck for so long. It was so frustrating. I kept trying, but I kept repeating the old thing. Maybe temporarily I would feel differently. Maybe temporarily it would start to change things, but just like a rubber band, it would pull me right back to what felt like the start. In part 3, I'm going to be sharing what I personally created. I was taught different things, and this is the system that I am now able to share and try to show you how to break out of that old pattern of feeling and that old pattern of consciousness. What I realized is that most of my feelings were rooted in a very low assumption about myself. And that assumption was rooted in I was going to be abandoned, I wasn't good enough, that people were going to reject me. So part 3 is going to show you how you can start deciphering this feeling, interjecting before you get into the feeling and repeat the old pattern, and how you can step out of it so you create space for the new feeling. So here's part 3. Okay, this drawing's a little bit crazy. I don't know why the old feeling looks like it's going up a ramp, but we're gonna move on from that. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little different. I know that's crazy because I usually do the same exact thing. For me, repetition is really important for learning, but I want to do something a little different. What's been coming up a lot in recent one-on-ones is this dynamic, and I really want to offer it to y'all to see if it might help give a little bit different perspective to help you get this. So the biggest thing to break out of the old feeling, boop, 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 boop. Remember, the old feeling is going to bring up the old circumstances, going to keep you locked in because it's going to do this. Here, you're going to have a current situation. Okay? Right? For me, it was no text. I roll my eyes. I'm like, here we go again. I know. It's the one that I know so well, so I can explain it. So I didn't get a text, right? That started making me feel really anxious. I started feeling anxious because I assumed I was being rejected, or I was going to be abandoned, or I was going to be isolated, right? So that popped in here, right? Because underlying feeling was I'm not good enough, right? That was my assumption, that they're always going to reject me unless I earn it. So when I started feeling anxiety, that old feeling popped up. Guess what? It reiterated these old assumptions that I'm not enough, I'm unworthy. Guess what? That fuels. Then I see the second situation. You can just see that is the unfortunate and painful self-abandoning dynamic. I believe that your current assumptions, that the feelings that you're stuck in that keep attracting the old dynamic you no longer want, are based in the fear of rejection or the fear of abandonment. As you start to recognize what that looks like in real life and step out of it, it's going to stop firing and wiring that automatic programming in the same way. As you start seeing yourself differently, as you start having disconfirming experiences, you can actually start to shift the way you consciously perceive yourself, which is going to elevate your level of consciousness, which is going to start to change what you give permission or consent to be true. This is basically starting to dissolve the old assumptions, to wiggle out some room so that you can start to have higher level experiences and completely shift the way you perceive yourself. Change is not by the passing of time. Change is created by a shift of perspective of yourself. How do you change this? So the thing I want to focus on right now is this moment right here. Okay? Any time you start to feel anxious, oh man, what are they doing? They haven't called me. Do they like me? Did I do something wrong? Am I too much? Are they mad at me? How many times did I assume someone was mad at me because they were quiet or they were doing their own thing? Any time you start to compare, I don't know, looking at people's exes or maybe people's current person, and you're like, oh, this or that, and you're just kind of tearing me apart, you're trying to be better, there's any kind of inferior, superior, that is a lose-lose game because it's rooted in your fear of rejection or abandonment based on that other person. In both of those energies, your energy is not with you. Your energy is outside yourself. That is self-abandonment. That is the old feeling. That's going to attract people, circumstances, and situations that are also not with you. They're emotionally unavailable. They are emotionally abandon you. Now, the other side of that coin is suspicion and distrust. Anytime you start to say, okay, whoa, what do they want? Why are they being so nice to me? I don't trust that person. Now, granted, you could have the old archetype of the person who first betrayed you, yes. But if you're just automatically, impulsively assuming something negative based on the past, you are also emotionally unavailable to yourself because that assumption that they're out to get you is leaving your authentic desire in that moment in this perception that you cannot keep yourself safe. That is what we want to move out of. That idea that you can't keep yourself safe and that the outside is your sense of okayness, that the outside is where your safety is, that is based in childhood when your environment you were dependent on. So every time, okay, I'm starting to feel anxious. They're telling me, I'm starting to tell myself the story that if they don't like me, that I'm nothing, I'm worthless. I'm putting all my sense of worth in their opinion of me. I'm rejecting me in this moment. I'm so afraid that they'll reject me that I'm actually doing it right now. And when I do that, I'm in the old feeling. Nothing is worth the cost of self-abandonment. Simply aware of that story, stepping out of that and making a new choice. I'm going to take care of myself in this moment. Maybe I need some consistency. Maybe I need a sense of validation. Maybe I need some support. Maybe I need to take a walk to help reduce my amygdala fear scanner. The more and more you break out of this impulsive dynamic, the more you step in to the potential of that feeling being your dominant vibration. So these are the practical ways where you can start to step out of that automatic impulse that your sense of safety is based in somebody else. The same happens on distrust and suspicion. I can't trust them. They're going to betray me. In that moment, that assumption of that betrayal is you leaving you, you not feeling safe. So one thing you can do is, okay, I'm really afraid that my sense of safety is in what they may or may not do. I've got to create space. I've got to move away from this. You having to move away is actually you abandoning your desire to connect. But that impulsive reaction based on the past keeps you in the loop. So one thing could be, okay, what do I need? How can I feel safe in this moment? Maybe it's going to the bathroom, taking some breaths. Maybe it's excusing yourself. Maybe it's having an honest conversation, right? I saw an Instagram video the other day that was honest conflict versus dishonest harmony. The cost of avoiding what you truly need in that moment is self-abandonment because of the perception that you'll be abandoned or rejected. Again, I cannot tell you how massively just doing this has completely changed my life. I was in such a habit of self-rejection that I didn't even know the power I had in making a new choice. I guarantee if you start doing this and breaking out of those old impulsive reactions, and if you can't, and it's been a week and you remember then, go back to old experiences. Go back and realize those assumptions, realize other things you could have done. That's going to give your brain an ability to learn a new way of self-protection, of standing authentically in yourself, knowing your worth, knowing your strength, feeling empowered. And what does that do? It takes you from a level of shame or guilt or anger, which is a lower level vibration in terms of your level of consciousness. It's going to evolve you into pride, into courage, maybe neutrality, love, joy, higher levels of consciousness. And what does Neville say? That basically your level of consciousness, which is what feeds the thoughts and feelings, that level of consciousness is what changes your circumstances, not anything else. But we become so distracted in our circumstances. We want to interact with them and we lose our power because we keep making the same choices unconsciously. I guarantee if you start to implement understanding, when you start to feel anxious, you start to compare, you start to feel suspicious or distrusting, breathe, make a new choice. Take care of yourself in that moment. You open the opportunity for a new feeling. And like I said before, yes, this really helps, but how in the world do you go back to old situations and see them in a new way? This video right here is going to break down the exact process for what I call reverse visualization, which is using your past experiences, seeing it in different ways so that you can learn different options you had. So when you experience it in the future, you more easily have that new way of being. So check that video out right here. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one.